I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Rank.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
What is going on? What's happening? This is Jeremy Schulman at Adjust the Ranks at FF_Rebel on the Twitter machine. I am here with special guest Ryan Prosick at RyanPros_FF. We are today going to do a 4-round, 12-team rookie mock draft just ahead of the last day of the combine. I am here with the sun blaring in my face because I'm trying to figure out my lighting. Ryan was born in the darkness and he still lives there, and that's all right. We're listen. You just do your best. We got the high contrast going on here today. Ryan, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I guess oh, that's what it is. My lights are at 50%. Okay, that might be a little better. We're getting there. But yeah, I mean, I like filming in the evening because that's not blaring in the back, and it just but it is what it is. I'm Bane for the day, I guess.
That's it.
We can work with it. I mean, we'll see. But I'm excited. Mostly everyone tested yesterday. You had the sit outs like Tet McMillan, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, Cam Scatabo, who I think was the big winner of the day. If I'm being completely real, like totally transparent, he was the big winner for not running the 40.
Yeah, 100%. And who wasn't the big winner, who I keep hearing was a big winner? Quinn Ewers. We'll have to talk about him later because holy crap, that guy can't hit the broadside of a barn except when he can. At least he wasn't Will Howard, but agree with you with Cam Scatabo. I'm diving into his tape deep. It's pretty good, Ryan. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but the testing was not going to be so great, and he knew that. And there's some people, you look back on the weekend, that I don't know if they got the right advice on a test or not. So, yeah. I mean, we'll see the pro days because look at their numbers, the pro days, but some of these numbers are really confusing. I forget who it was. Was it Jalen Milroe who had like an inch and a half bigger hands or something?
Yeah, listen. What I heard, the conspiracy theory that I heard is that it's the difference from at the Senior Bowl using a ruler and then using a tape measure. I don't know, but some of this stuff is just stupid. Look, at the end of the day, the combine is the combine. It's one piece of the puzzle. So let's just be really careful about what we take away from this, and we'll try to parse through all of that as we go along. Quick before we begin here, Ryan, again, this is our 12-man 4-round Superflex full PPR tight end premium mock draft for rookies. My question to you is, before we begin, you heard the intro. I'm here to rank and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble. Do you have any knowledge of where that quote is from?
Sadly, no. I mean, my friends, I'm sitting with them sometimes, and they randomly quote a movie. They're like, "Where's that from?" And I never know it, and it's just gets in the dump sometimes.
This one is Roddy Piper, the '80s wrestling star. He was a decent, I'd say, movie star in terms of just the number of movies that he was in. He starred in this movie. It's called They Live. So if you haven't seen this movie, it's a horrible 80s flick where he puts on sunglasses and all of a sudden he can see the demons that look like basically skeletons, walking amongst us. So, but I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm fresh out of bubble gum is a quote that you should know. And hey, now you know it, right?
Yeah, now I know it. And wrestling's back, man. I don't know if you heard about last night.
I did.
My boy Cena, he's heel now. That's crazy.
It's time.
It was nuts.
It's time. Everyone goes through this. We saw The Rock go through it, but that's a story for another time.
Years though. It took him 20 years.
Hey, you got to pay the bills. You got to make the money. Jamie, what is up? How's it going, man? Quick one. Isaiah Bond, kind of a loser for promising to break the record. We were talking a little bit about Bond just before we went live here. Obviously Matthew Golden, teammate, big winner there. So let's see where these guys end up as we begin our mock draft. And the way that we are going to do it, if I can figure out how to present it, because I lost it completely. There we go. Is we are going to just run through this. We're going to do. That's a lovely view. There we go.
There you go.
We are going to do the 12 teams. We're going to let the computer auto pick. We'll change it if need be. We'll discuss that and talk about where we have all of these guys ranked post their combine performances. Some move up, some move down. But again, we have to make sure that we're being very careful considering how far we're allowing, how much we're allowing these results to impact our decisions. After all, we got tape. After all, we have plenty of other resources at our disposal, analytics, production, etc. So this is just one piece of the puzzle. Draft capital will be another piece of the puzzle. So let's jump in and let's see how this goes. All right.
Largely how I expected it.
Yeah, kind of chalk. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that, Ryan?
I mean, of course, Ashton Genty's locked in at the 101. I don't think we need to spend all too much time on that.
No.
We know he's locked in. I mean, Cam Ward, 103 feels right as well. There was a little bit of buzz going around that Cam Ward is separating himself from Shador, how the league views the two of them, that Cam Ward is just miles ahead of Shador at this point. So I think Cam Ward's going to be the first quarterback off the board. I'm hearing the Browns. So that'd be nice for Jerry Jeudy. And Amarian Hampton was a big winner this weekend.
100%.
I knew he was going to run fast. I didn't think it'd be what was it, 4.48 officially?
4.47 maybe. Oh, did they bump it down?
They might have bumped it down. It might have been 4.47. It was in that ballpark. I love the tape. He's going to be a first round guy. He's going to hear his name called on Thursday. Daniel Jeremiah had him in his mock to the Chargers. Daniel does he does those mocks with his ears, not his eyes. That's what he likes to say. So what he's been hearing. I don't know how I feel about TreVeyon Henderson. I mean,
twist the knife.
He tested well. He tested really well. I'll say that. I don't know where he's going to land in the draft. And then Tyler Warren, he didn't need a test this weekend.
No. And again, tight end premium. So whereas Warren may fall to 108, 109 in kind of a standard Superflex draft, depending on the value that you place on the tight end position in your particular leagues. Certainly, the 106 seems relevant here. I got two questions for you, Ryan. First, I will not let you get away with the TreVeyon slander. TreVeyon popped on tape for me next to Quinshon Judkins. I know he's a smaller back, but he did come in over 200 pounds, which is what we love to see. TreVeyon Henderson, super explosive. He proved that at the combine. I have him at RB2. I love Hampton. I have him over Amarian Hampton.
I get on board with it. It's not that I'm hating on TreVeyon Henderson. It's just I just don't know what kind of draft capital he's going to get. I feel more sure about Genty, of course, who's going to get locked in top 20-25, definitely.
Yeah.
And Amarian Hampton feels like he sneaks into the back end of the first round. I don't know where TreVeyon Henderson goes. And of course, you usually have to favor those round one guys over day two. And, that's why the boards kind of fell, kind of difficult for me because I see Luther Burden here. I like him more than you do.
Yeah.
I think he ran really, really well with his size at the 40. I didn't, his gauntlet was a little slow. That's what they were saying. I think he hit 17 miles an hour. So it was one of the slower gauntlets. Colston Loveland didn't need a test this weekend. He's tight end too. He's going round one.
Oh, yeah.
I like him a lot in tight end premium. His athletic profile, maybe because we didn't see him test, it might bump him down a little bit. But with him and Tyler Warren, they would have tested well anyway. It's just a given, pretty much.
Sure. Yep. Totally agree with you there. And we'll talk about Warren and these tight ends in a bit. But I think we're going to get into some wide receivers here, Ryan, before you potentially pick your wide receiver. TEP at the 102. Are you still comfortable with that? Because I think I might be leaning running backs over TEP and pushing back to the 104, 105 range. What are you thinking?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking it. It was in my mind as I was going through the list order there, and I think he's going to be a faller on draft day.
Yep.
I mean, it's all there. The profile is good. He's got good tape, but like teams just don't seem to be in love with them like, these other guys that were supposed to go top 10 in years past.
Yeah.
It feels like he's going to slide a little bit. I mean, maybe the Jets can stop that slide. That's what I'm looking at right now. Because across from Garrett Wilson,
Oh, that would be
they're
sweet.
not going to have anybody. Because Devontae is going to be gone, probably a giant, which is going to look strange, but we'll see what happens there. We have a whole off season to go, but
That's true.
I think I'd be more comfortable, swapping him down to the 105 if you take Travion Henderson if he's your RB2 at 102.
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel much better about that. I mean, I think I'd have Ted off the board right now. I think he'd be 106. Like, I think I'd move him down and bump everyone up as we're sitting right now.
Yeah, it could be. Let's see how the rest of this goes. But as of right now, we're still working off of old data. The combine is relatively fresh. We're still trying to grab Raz scores, and only Kentley Platt himself really has all of them listed in one spot right now as the combine continues here in about 30 minutes. But Ryan, why don't you get to the 107 and talk about who you are going to take? What are you thinking here in Superflex Tight End Premium?
I was all aboard the Matthew Golden train because I did not see 4.340 coming. I didn't see it.
Awesome.
He was what, 4.29? He broke 4.2s officially.
Yep.
I thought he was going to be like, a 4.41 kind of guy, 4.4 range flat. Man, the tape is just awesome. He's a separator. I mean, he wins. And, when you watch the tape, he wasn't winning with speed. Like, he has speed.
Right.
That wasn't how he was winning. He was just getting natural separation. So I want to go him, but you called Luther Burden Traylon Burks kind of clone.
I did.
Every year I fall for it. And you know what, Jeremy? I'm gonna do it again.
Over Emeka Egbuka. I love it. Tell the people why you hate Emeka Egbuka, right?
I don't necessarily hate him. I just like Luther Burden more. I go for these types of wide receivers, big height, weight, speed kind of guy. I know Luther Burden doesn't have the height, but he's the weight and the speed. But it's just I think his tape is better. It's very marginally close for me, and I think if Luther Burden would have played at Ohio State, we'd be talking about him at the 104, 105. It's just Mizzou. I'm not gonna bring up past failures or hate or anything, but it feels kind of a lot like Jalen Reagor coming out, where his quarterback just couldn't get him the ball that well.
Yeah. The thing is, and one of the pieces of information that's kind of swaying me on Burden is the fact that he has one of the highest percentages of his production coming from screen plays. And I think it was specifically plays close, like within 3 yards, close to or at the line of scrimmage in history. So these are like, if you think about, I'm not sure about Rondale Moore's metrics in college, but obviously in the NFL used by Cliff Kingsbury, this is one of the concerns here for potentially a Luther Burden. We didn't necessarily see him gain his production through traditional methods like you're talking about with a TEP or a Golden, for example. Those guys out there winning like a traditional wide receiver can win. Can Luther Burden do that? I think so. The problem is we haven't seen it. We thought the same with Traylon Burks. We thought the same with some of these other guys who we valued highly who fell off. I'll tell you one thing, Ryan, if the Carolina Panthers draft Luther Burden, I am all the way out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in either. I mean, draft capital landing spot are going to determine a lot. But you know who needs a line of scrimmage guy now?
Who's that?
Coincidentally, the team that just traded one away yesterday. So the San Francisco 49ers, if they want to dip on offense, I think they need a receiver now. I mean, I'm not sold on Ricky Pearsall. Brandon Ayuk's hurt. Brandon Ayuk might get traded as well. Like,
yeah, I think so.
That's a very real possibility. Juwan Jennings is fantastic, but he can't be the whole offense with Kittle. So maybe Luther Burden at 11. I don't know.
I mean, if Burden did go to San Francisco, I think that's a completely different conversation. I think Ibuka is the type of guy who could really thrive in San Francisco. I don't know if he's going to make it all the way down. San Francisco's in the early to mid 20s, I think, with their pick.
Oh, they're in the 10s.
Oh, are they? Oh no. So
They
I don't
had
think
a
Ibuka's
bad
going to be a pick.
year.
Yeah, Ibuka's not going to be a pick there, but it's really going to be interesting to see how the wide receivers shake out here. I think Travis Hunter should probably go a lot higher than this, but we are in tight end premium. So I am going to go ahead and take Colston Loveland. But we see how the rest of this draft kind of panned out. We got Burden at the 107, Ibuka 108, Quinshon Judkins, who had an amazing combine, just super explosive. I thought his combine helped his stock because his tape was a little lacking. Production was good. Obviously won the national championship, but alongside Travion Henderson, I thought the tape was lackluster as a result of the fact that Travion Henderson's tape was explosive. But Judkins came out and absolutely did everything you want to see a running back do. So I think he's going to go in the first round of your rookie draft. Then you have Sanders at 110. That's probably a steal if he remains a starter in the league. And then Caleb Johnson at 111. Don't hate that. And I think he did everything you wanted him to do. I'm going to take Loveland. And as we watch the first half of the second round come through, Ryan, feel free to jump on any of these points or any guys taken.
Yeah, I mean, if you get the freshman version of Judkins or Henderson, I was looking at the wrong guy there. Mm-hmm. You're getting a steal. Like those guys in their freshman years at the respective colleges.
Oh, yeah.
Judkins had the juice, and Travion Henderson, he brought it back more than Judkins did. But man, if you're getting either of those freshman guys, you're getting a steal, and you're probably getting an RB1 because they were incredible.
Yeah,
I can tell you who I'm not taking though.
Who's that?
The guy at the top of the board. Oh, is he at the top of the board, or is he just at the top of the board on the screen?
Oh, Isaiah Bond. Yeah, talk to us about Bond.
Yeah, when you guarantee a 4.140 or low 4.2s, and you run a 4.4, not good. I mean, what is there more to say? I mean, he got booed yesterday. I mean, he said he was going to break the record and didn't even come close. Xavier Worthy tweeted out, "There's speed, and then there's me," which I thought went crazy. I love the confidence from the young guy, but
yeah, sure.
Man, I think you have to be all the way out in Isaiah Bond. And I guess we're going to talk about another loser later on, but Tez Johnson, I mean,
oh yeah,
that 40. I did see a tweet that he was more quick than fast, which I totally agree with, but still, it was a touch too slow for me.
What was his 40? I'm looking it up now.
I believe it was 4.55. At least the first run was.
Let's see, 4.51. So not terrible.
Not as bad as
second,
it was.
But yeah, not what you want to see for sure for a guy of that size. I think that's the concern. One thing that we're struggling with is the idea that player size is changing. We saw guys like Tank Dell in his first season come in and absolutely kind of take off. We've seen guys in the last couple of years who are smaller, really starting with Devonta Smith, coming in and looking like professional wide receivers at a smaller size. You can say the same thing about running backs with James Cook, who's not small, but smaller than kind of that typical size. Bucky Irving is another one. So there's these guys who come in who are smaller than you want, but they're still just as good players in this kind of new look NFL. So I think we need to adjust our feelings a little bit about size. That said, you can't be super small and super slow. And compared to all of the other wide receivers in this class, I mean, Tez Johnson had like the 5th worst 40 time of any wide receiver who ran. So yikes.
Yeah, it was a tough combine for him. But getting back to the draft, I mean, if you could get this run right here in the early second round of Travis Hunter, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden, sign me up.
Yeah,
all day, every day. I think Travis Hunter, we know about. It's if he plays wide receiver. It's not, is he going to be good if he plays wide receiver? Trey Harris, Love the time for him in the 40, and of course Matthew Golden's 40.
Yeah.
Just not much more to say about that. I think these guys could all be productive at the next level.
Yeah, I
I
have
think
no issue with those wide receivers. Are you happy with the order? And let's say Travis Hunter gets drafted in a good spot and they say he's going to play plenty of wide receiver. Where do you take him?
this is tough because I'd start saying around. Well, if he plays primarily wide receiver, you're saying mostly wide receiver.
If the team says, I don't think we're going to get a ton of information here after he's drafted, but if the team says he's going to play plenty of wide receiver, whatever that means, right? I think that means, he'll be on the field. He's a wide receiver 3 package guy, 30% of snaps, something. No one's going to say that, but let's assume that that's the feeling that we get when it's time for the rookie draft. Where do you put him?
I would say right around where I picked 107, 108, 109.
Yeah, it's fair.
Plenty, you have to take the dice roll. If a team comes out and says, "Hey, you're not playing corner, you're playing wide receiver only," he's the 102.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty locked in.
Agree. And right before you pick, because we're running a little long, but no big deal. What do you think about Jamie's point here? Too early for Milrow in a Superflex rookie draft. I agree. What do you think?
I agree, but if he goes day 2, I mean, it's kind of like the Travis Hunter thing, but just in a different way. You're taking a big gamble.
Mm-hmm.
But if Jalen Milrow, the passer, his highs are very high. It's a limited showing on tape.
Yep.
If he gets there as a passer, he's a steal because his running ability is just that good.
Yep.
That he'll be worth everything and more for your pick at that point. But I think it's a tad early. I think he's going to go round 3, but it's a little too early for me with guys like Travis Hunter, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden.
Yeah, agree.
Like, they're not sure things, of course, but you're going to get more opportunity, and you might get a return year 1 where Jalen Milrow, you're just not going to get anything year 1.
Yeah. Jackson Dart, big winner from yesterday. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's quarterback 3. I've heard a bunch of rumors that he's pushing the first round from like reputable sources.
That'd be awesome.
So, I mean, is he? I don't know. We seem to do this every year.
We do. We do. I think he's more Drake May than he is Zach Wilson, but I guess we'll find out.
We're gonna find out. Shortly. I mean, could a team like the Jets trade in the back end around 1 if they don't get a shot at Shador? I'm
sure.
I mean, could a team like the Raiders go Ashton Genty at 6? I think Genty's going to go a lot higher than most people think he is. Could they double dip with Dart in the second round and have the backfield?
I'd honestly be surprised if he makes to the second round. I think the Falcons kind of set that precedent last year, where if you have kind of an aging guy, you're not going to be afraid to take the heir apparent because you don't want to set if you believe in him, because you do not want to set your franchise back another 5 years by missing out on a premium guy. I think this guy goes kind of like where was it Fields, who fell and then ended up going like 16, 17, 18,
I think 12,
something like that.
If I'm not mistaken.
Then maybe I'm thinking of Mac Jones. Was it Mac Jones?
Did it go? I think
one of those.
Mac Jones was later because I think it went Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons, Justin Fields.
Yeah, I remember there's a trade up, so that's why I'm struggling to remember. But Mac Jones was taken, and he was viewed by a franchise guy. And look, I think Mac Jones proved last year that he's a capable, replacement level backup NFL quarterback. Should he have been taken that high? I don't know, but he certainly could have had a better first couple of year experience than whatever was going on in offense on the offensive side of the ball in New England there. So. I'm not going to put all of that on Mac Jones, but Jackson Dart, if he can find a good spot and be developed, I think he's worthy of kind of that late teens in the first round pick. I'm not totally sure right now who's picking there, but a team like the Saints comes to mind in terms of a team of need. I know they didn't do well last year, so they're certainly higher than that. But yeah, there's definitely more than a few teams who could trade back up into the first, like you're saying. But I think he's going to go a lot sooner than teams believe.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said, teams need a quarterback. They should take the quarterback. But we do this every year.
We do. We do.
which is going to prevail, because we've seen guys that are. I know Malik Willis was mentioned in a comment. I remember him going second to Detroit in some of those mock drafts. I remember those days.
Yes, and then he
So, like, is Dart going to go higher than we expect? Probably. Is it going to be round 1? I think it has to be. If you're confident in him, you have to trade up and take him. Get that 5th-year option. I think it's going to surprise some people, especially in what many draft pundits are saying is a weak class, where I believe Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show 2-3 days ago and said the player going to get at 10, which is the Bears pick, which Bears fans weren't happy about that, is the same player going to get at 32.
Yeah.
Like in that ballpark. I think that only encourages Jackson Dart going around 1, because there's not as many blue chip talents on defense as well. So running backs deep.
Yep.
Line kind of top heavy. Defensive line is deep. So there's a lot of deep positions, and there's only 2-3 quarterbacks that are projected to go high. So I think Jackson Dart's going to go higher than we think.
So here you are in the middle of the second round, Ryan. You see the board as it's presented to you, and we've gone through all the guys. Devin Neal at 206, really the only guy we didn't talk about, but we agree he had a good combine. So what are you thinking here at the 207 with how the board fell to you? Who are you looking to grab?
So first off, I just want to say at 207 here, I'm looking to acquire some late seconds, because if this is, like, we could take off Jalen Milroe probably. But this is probably around how the first 16, 17 picks of your draft are going to play out. I mean, there might be some substitutions, but these guys that came off the board are no slouches either, with Matthew Golden and Devin Neal, Trey Harris. There's still a lot of talent left here on the board. So if you could get some cheap late seconds, I know people don't like this class. I know people don't like next year's even more. And then, 2027, just throw the party now. But, you're looking at the board, you have Alec Aominer. I can't say the name right now.
You had it. You had it.
Aominer. Yeah. You have Dylan Sampson. Was tripping up. It's a little early here on a Sunday. The Sunday scaries are out. But you have some talent left on the board. I mean, is it a little early for everyone else? I mean, Jalen Royals was a big combine winner. Jaden Higgins was really good. Jack Besh had a really good combine. Jaden Blue ran really well. Like, there's a lot of talent down here. I wish I would have seen Tavian Williams test, but he didn't. So, what are you going to do about that? They asked him to test at running back, which would have been interesting to see.
Cordero Patterson 2.0.
He didn't do any of the drills. I'm scrolling to see if there's anyone else down here, but there's a lot of names to like. Ollie Gordon, he didn't run the best, so I think he's off the board. But Scatabo, you could argue here. You could argue Dylan Sampson, which might be the route that I'm going.
Damn it! Don't do it.
I won't then. I won't.
No, do it. Go for it.
I think I'm gonna go Alec here. Iomaner had such a good 40. I didn't expect low 4.4s. His size,
crazy.
I was mocking him to the round 1 because he just feels like a Steelers guy. He feels okay. He feels like he's willing to run block. He just feels like a Mike Tomlin guy,
That's fair.
They need help. there's no way to sugarcoat that. They need help on offense. Their offensive line is filled. They've filled all the holes there. They do need a quarterback, but who's going to play across from George Pickens? I don't think it's going to be Mike Williams again.
Oh, God.
I certainly don't think, anyone else. Scotty Miller's there. It's bleak at wide receiver for the Steelers. And, George Pickens has his I don't know how to explain it. We know about George Pickens.
Quirks.
He has
Yes,
his his quirks. So the way he operates.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of those wide receivers where we look back like a Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall, or they just go end of day one, and you're not making it past 15 minutes on the draft on day two. He's one of those guys where you're not going to have to wait long on day two to hear your name called if you make it through day one.
Fair. And we see Jamie here said that he would take Ao Manor. I'm still working on it over Isaiah Bond, and that's exactly what happened here with Ryan taking him over Bond. We see Bond goes at the 209, Gordon at the 208. You mentioned it briefly. I don't really want to talk about Gordon because I thought his combine was just meh. I thought his tape was better, but you do not see the explosion that you want to see from some of these other guys. Other guys like Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson, I'm incredibly high on. He's currently my RB5. I may move him up over Caleb Johnson, although Caleb Johnson had a great, a really nice combine, put together great tape. So that's really hard. I don't have it that way right now. But Dylan Sampson, for me, at this price point, I will buy every single time. He went to Tennessee. We're worried about the Tennessee kind of mystique, just like we talked about Tez Johnson and these Oregon wide receivers, that these are these Tennessee wide receivers to an extent and running backs, right? All the position players there. We're worried that scheme hides a lack of talent. Watch the tape, though. Dylan Sampson is not Jalen Wright. He is a legitimate inside runner. I was concerned he wasn't going to be able to catch the football. He wasn't the best receiver of the football in the drills, but he was capable. And that's really all I wanted to see. The inside running, the vision, the movement is exceptional. He's quick as hell. And he's, for his size especially, I think Dylan Sampson is going to be a steal. And if he goes somewhere where he's going to get work, sign me up.
Mm-hmm. Caleb Johnson, I know you said you're going to move Sampson over him, maybe.
Maybe.
It just feels like Caleb Johnson is going to be that solid player. Like,
big boy.
That's what I get the vibes from Caleb Johnson, where I feel like he might not break fantasy, like, say, Travion Henderson if he catches a bunch of passes, and Ashton Genty, a Quinshawn Judkins. I just feel like he's going to be solid. So I don't hate moving him down because it's not a safe pick. I mean, he's going to get draft capital, of course, because I think all these running backs on the board outside of Aldi Gordon are going to get draft capital.
Agree.
He just feels safe. So,
yep, I agree with you. And before I pick here, we have to just spend a minute on Quinn Ewers. I'm hearing and seeing on Twitter that people are saying that Quinn Ewers is a big winner. I don't know what you were watching at the combine, but we were not watching the same stuff because Quinn Ewers, I went back and watched every throw from Quinn Ewers just to make sure that my bias wasn't creeping in. But from a couple of years ago, I've hated the Quinn Ewers tape because I saw it with Xavier Worthy missing multiple wide open shots. I saw it again with Matthew Golden and certainly Isaiah Bond. Quinn Ewers didn't look right. Now, I've heard that he had a shoulder tear or strain, an oblique tear or strain over the last couple of seasons. How much of that factors in? Well, you know what? Whatever it is, he's still dealing with it because this guy is inconsistent as hell. There's some really good moments on tape. There are some awful moments on tape. And I just don't see the consistency ever getting there for Quinn Ewers. And in drills where the Memphis quarterback, who I can't even remember his name, looks better than you, just kind of throwing the regular drills. For me, yes, Quinn Ewers had a few dimes. He had just as many, if not more, complete outright misses and airmails in the drills yesterday. He's a big no for me. He's off my board. What are you thinking about Ewers?
Yeah, he's off my board as well. I mean, we saw it, like you said, with Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell.
Yep.
I don't know how many times in the past 2 to 3 years that A.D. Mitchell's gotten open for both of his quarterbacks and just can't get it done.
It's been rough for Mitchell.
It's just been rough for A.D. Mitchell out there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talent at Texas, and we've seen the wide receivers come out this year, last year, and Quinn Ewers. People have been kind of writing it off that, Matthew Golden was held back by Quinn Ewers, and Matthew Golden's going to be great, which you saw Xavier Worthy excel in year one.
Yep.
A.D. Mitchell was getting open a ton in year one. Obviously, couldn't find the ball, and then Alec Pierce happened. But it's just one of those things where I can't see it with Quinn Ewers. I just can't. I mean, we do this every year with quarterbacks. We start to prop them up a little bit, and it just bites us in the end.
Yeah, we want these quarterbacks to come in and develop, but I saw a good comment. I don't remember. I have a terrible memory, by the way, so I just don't
So do
remember
I.
where all these comments come from. But one of the comment that stuck with me is, we want these guys to develop in the NFL. When have we seen the NFL truly develop a quarterback properly? Maybe you can say Patrick Mahomes, maybe you can say Aaron Rodgers, but these guys sat for years. Maybe you can say Jordan Love, although he didn't look exceptional last year. So, this sort of thing tends to be more player dependent than it is team dependent. And I'm just not going to bank on any team bringing Ewers in and developing him properly, regardless of where he goes. So for me, I'm out. The tools are there. I don't want a part of it.
It's burned me the past couple of years taking quarterbacks around this range in
Hooker was one.
Superflex, whether it's Kellen Mond, because he had day 2 capital a couple of years back. Kyle Trask was up there. Davis Mills was another one that is off the top of my head. Like, you don't see returns on any of these guys. And, you're generally not going to see returns on most third-round picks anyway, late seconds, thirds, fourths. But at least give yourself a chance, Sure. Like, Jackson Dart is probably the line. Maybe Jalen Milroe, if he gets okay draft capital, maybe I'll take the chance there because the fantasy upside is so immense. But with guys like Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, and the guys of years past, that upside was just not there. So I think I'm drawing the line at Jalen Milroe this time because at least if he starts, you could either trade him away for probably more than you drafted him for because he's probably going to put up good fantasy points. We saw, Trey Lance throw a couple interceptions in that preseason game and still score well because he ran around. Yeah. I think we could see the same with Jalen Milroe. So if he impresses in the preseason, because he's probably going to get preseason reps wherever he goes. If he impresses in the preseason, you're good. I just don't see it for most of these guys. So
yeah.
But if Shador starts to follow that point and he goes top 3, I think you have to take him. Like circling back to that, because we've seen it so many times. I don't think he's in this category, but the Justin Herbert's late round 1, the Tua's late round 1. Who else is up there? Jordan Love, first round quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, Jalen Hurts is a little bit of a different scenario, but still, like, those guys that get high round 1 capital and fall to the back end,
they're worth
it. There's a point where you just have to take them and be like, okay, this is a round 1 quarterback with premium draft capital.
Yeah. Bo Nix last year.
Bo Nix, Michael Penix last year. Like,
Michael Penix was in the second routinely.
Every time. I keep asking, how many times we're going to make this mistake? And then we just made it again last year. Myself included, because we're like, oh, he's not going to be good, or he's going to sit for a while. And it just goes to show you can't judge until you watch.
Yep. And for me, Milroe, I agree with you. The first top 3 quarterbacks here, that's Ward, Sanders, and Dart. I'm absolutely in on at cost as they're presented here. Milroe, I agree with Jamie. I agree with you in the fact that he's a little bit early for my taste, but I would take a shot at him in that mid to late second round, depending where he goes. If he goes somewhere where there's more than competent kind of younger QB play, like, I don't know why he would go to Houston, but go to Houston, or, obviously a quarterback who's highly touted, Jacksonville, who should be the starter for multiple years. This is what happened to Hendon Hooker with Jared Goff, right? Hooker was drafted. People weren't super high on him, but he looked like a Michael Penix type. He had that potential. And then, Jared Goff just continues to produce and be a high end, like, QB2 in the league, right? Like top 15 quarterbacks. So I don't want to fall into that trap with Milroe. If he goes to the Eagles or somewhere, your squad, right, to kind of become what Hurts would become if Hurts were injured, he goes to the field where Justin Fields is playing, goes to the Jets,
the Saints.
Maybe in the 3rd round behind Tyrod Taylor. At least at the moment, the Saints, potentially one of these places. that's maybe a little bit more interesting. But a place where there's an entrenched starter and he's just going to sit for a while, I don't know. So that's enough talk about these QBs. Any final thing you want to say? Because there's nothing else I want to say.
Yeah, we'll know when he gets drafted. When he gets drafted, where we'll be comfortable taking him in drafts. But as of right now, I'd probably push him to the third. I see Jack Besh there, Jalen Royals, Jaden Higgins is still on the board.
Yep.
I think these guys are all going to get day 2 capital. I mean, they'll impress the combine, and I can't see myself taking a backup quarterback or developmental guy over any of these players because I think they're all going to step in early and produce. I mean, Jack Besh was the Senior Bowl MVP, looked great yesterday, and same for Royals and Higgins. And, they're smaller school guys, so they weren't getting as much notoriety as, say Abuka or TEP McMillan or Travis Hunter or Matthew Golden. But they're going to be steals in come rookie draft time because I think, like I said, they're all going to get day 2 capital and they're not going to make it out of round 3 at the bare minimum.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit here about kind of what's left on the board at the 212. We got Scatabo, who we talked about, who we loved his explosiveness, would have loved to see him run. But all other things considered, explosive and looked good. Restrepo, who I don't believe tested, but it's all there for you on tape. You got some of these other RJ Harvey is still here, who looked phenomenal in everything that had to do with combine. So I love some of these names here. Martinez, probably a little early for him,
Ferguson.
but like you mentioned, wide receivers, Royals, Higgins, where is he? Ferguson absolutely crushed the combine. I don't care about any of those things at the 212 when Arroyo is still on the board. I need me some Elijah Arroyo in my life. I know I have 2 tight ends here. Jamie even posed the question, is it worth it in tight end premium to take a second tight end? I think when you're getting a guy who should absolutely go on day 2, and I'm not talking about round 3. I really expect Arroyo to go in the second round to a team that's needy, that wants a weapon, that sees these top 2 tight ends go off in what I expect to be the first round, both Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland going in the first. So Elijah Arroyo by the middle of the second round, I think he's gone. I think that's exactly the type of capital that you're going to want to look to lock him in. And in tight end premium, I have no issue with him. I think he's far and away the tight end 3 at this moment, even with Ferguson, even with Taylor having good combines.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been a little under the radar, and I'm happy but not happy the combine allowed him to show out. You know what I mean? Because kind of keeping him a secret, but at the same time, I am very happy that he made himself some cold hard cash over the weekend. But yeah, in this tight end premium, I think Arroyo is a great back of the second, and then Mason Taylor at the top of the third. There, I think they're both going to go very high.
Agreed.
See, I keep doubling back. People didn't like this draft class, like they still don't. I think a lot more offensive players are going to get draft capital than you think. There's these guys that are on the board. Of course, some of them will fall. I don't think Will Howard or Dylan Gabriel will go that high. Maybe Will Howard might go day 2, but I don't think Gabriel will. And then you still have all these guys on the board that I was talking about at 212. And then, of course, there's always the surprises of people where we're like, oh, he's a day 3 guy, and then goes end of round 2. So there's a lot to like on the board. I know the top of the board staring at me right now is Harold Fannin. I think I'm out, man. I think I'm out.
475, right?
I expected that.
Yeah.
Because it was on the tape. It was all over the tape.
Sure.
The 10-yard split was really good, though, I'm pretty sure. I think the one post didn't have it right. He said that his 10-yard split was actually in the 90th percentile.
Okay.
So that's what you want for a tight end. So
yeah, for sure.
If the NFL says they're in on Harold Fannin, I'll jump back in. But right now I'm leaving the island. I'm in a Discord and they kicked me off Harold Fannin Island.
Oh boy. So who are you looking at here instead?
So, team building wise, it'd be smart to go Terrence Ferguson. I think the running backs are a little depleted as of right now. I could probably get this guy in the 4th, but I think that might be cheating, so I might just take him now.
Who's that?
I'm going to say his name right. Bashal Tutin out of Virginia
Yeah.
Tech. Look at that 40.
Woo.
He's one of my highest exposed players on Underdog. I'm so happy. He made himself a ton of cash.
Yeah.
Over the weekend. And I think he's going to go not very high in the draft, but I think he could sneak in a day 2. And with that speed and that burst, I mean, Jalen Wright went day 2 last year with that kind of speed, and this dude was faster. Have you seen the combine comps for Tutin?
No.
He basically had A-Chain's combine at 20 pounds heavier. Absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to go for it. I like the tape.
Nice.
He has a fumbling issue. He needs to fix it. If he fixes it, we're in business.
Yeah. And his explosion grade, this is from Kentley Platt, Math Bomb on Twitter, who does all the relative athletic scores, the RAS scores. He has him at a 9.24 RAS, and mostly because his height and weight are poor at 5'9", 208. Otherwise, he's elite across the board. He's an absolute stud. And you saw the way that he just fluidly runs through, catches the football, runs really well. I agree with you. Across the board, he made himself a ton of money. Is he going to be an end of day 2 or beginning of day 3 guy? I'm not sure, but someone's going to take a risk on him. He looked great.
I can't talk myself out of him this time, because last year, so this is the flip side. This player had a poor combine. I talked myself out. He was one of my most exposed players on Underdog, the pre-draft that they do, the pre-draft drafts that we did one on here as well. You know who that player was who had a poor RAS and was, a rookie coming into the draft?
I do know who that player was.
Yeah, it was him. It was Bucky Irvin. Yeah.
It was Bucky, yeah.
It was Bucky. I talked myself out. I lowered my exposure a ton.
Yeah.
And it bit me in the end because, there's a couple of these day 3 guys, of course, it's really hard to hit on day 3, but if you have conviction in these rookie drafts and you like a guy and it's maybe a little bit of a reach, I don't think 3.7's a reach for Tutin at this point, but if you like a guy, just pick him. You're supposed to have fun, and it's more fun hitting on a guy you're like, oh, this is my guy throughout the pre-draft process, and you hit on a 3rd round pick, and it just improves your dynasty roster incredibly.
Yep.
So
very true. Although it's no fun to take Rasheen Ali 20 times over.
He's still in my rosters.
Whoever that guy was. Why can't I remember his name? The Giants starting running back.
Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy.
I was in on Tyrone Tracy, and then I got sniped everywhere because I listened to Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers at the stock exchange.
Yep.
For PFF, they're really good. They were all over Tyrone Tracy. They were hyping him up for months, man. And I'm like, I watched the tape. I'm like, it's there, the conversion. A little bit. They were talking yesterday at the combine, who could be kind of, maybe a little bit of a comp for him, and that player's still on the board. And that's
hang on, no, I was just about to take him. Oh, you ruined it.
You can take him.
I was looking for him.
Rashard Smith out of SMU. He's got that speed. This late in the draft, I'm all for something like that.
Yeah.
So I think he could be that next impact kind of guy as a receiver. PPR scoring, this is great. I love the pick at 312.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for, right? You're looking for the guy who can step in right away and be that Tyrone Tracy type. We saw kind of Rashard Smith and what he was able to do at the combine. Elite scores of 4.39, 40. His splits were great. His explosion wasn't great because his broad jump was smaller, but guess what? He's a bit smaller, not quite 5'10", 5'9.7". He's 194 pounds. So he's not necessarily the size you want, but we see guys like Tyrone Tracy come into the league who are roughly this size and are able to get it done. And if there's a team that's going to give him the rock and take him higher simply as a result of this, or even if he can carve out a legitimate 3rd down role, I think he's very, very interesting.
Yeah, Rashard Smith is very interesting. And, this is where the mock draft gets a little bit out of control because
it does.
The CPU obviously overvalued that tight end premium a little bit.
It did. I don't necessarily have a problem with the third round, but let's replace this fourth round here.
Yeah.
I think we need to pause the draft.
Yeah, we need to pause the
Um,
draft. I mean, Gunnar Helm didn't have himself a good combine. I'll talk about that while you're replacing these players. The 40, I don't know if he was hurt, if he's, I think there was an end of the year injury that with him. I remember hearing about that. But the 4940 just kind of takes him off every board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put these guys in here that I'd take. Put Besh, put Higgins, because
Giddens here.
Besh and Higgins are going to be long gone by this point.
Okay. So I will do that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they're I think they're both round 2 guys.
Yeah, let's talk about these 3 guys that we're replacing here. What are you thinking between Martinez, Besh, and
Damon Martinez had a really good combine. Jack Besh, like I said, Senior Bowl MVP. He had a great combine. Look good catching the ball. And then Jaden Higgins, what a tester. I think he was like 85th percentile in everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But
really good. Yeah.
It makes my pick here harder because I could have just took one of those guys, copped out, and just said, hey, it's all good, So I'm going to look real quick because, the rookie board is kind of depleted at this point, but I'm going to go Jaden Blue. I mean,
yeah. Oh, he's so good.
He got the speed. He's got the burst. I think he's going to be a nice sleeper. Yeah.
I got a few of these. I'll take a few of these out of here. But go on.
You know who didn't go yet? He's not on sleepers board. Is Tyler Shoe not on
the no, he might not be in here.
He's not there yet. No, okay. I was like, wait a minute, why is he not off the board?
We'll pretend he went, but go on. Talk more about Blue.
I mean, he was kind of hidden there at Texas behind Jonathan Brooks. I forget who the starter was this year. I have to refresh my memory. But he was kind of hidden. He might be a hidden gem. That was one of those really good testers. He's only 21 years old, so he could give the speed a backfield needs. I mean, right now is the Google search because I was looking up his age. I mean, a lot of teams could use him. So I'm all in on Jaden Blue. I have to watch more of the tape. I haven't really gotten to it much, but his combine was very impressive.
Yeah, and these Texas guys too are guys that we're concerned about, but I think a lot of it has to do with the guy who's been running the show, and Quinn Ewers. Just stay away. Stay away from Quinn Ewers and bank on the fact that these guys are a little bit better. But if you look at how the 3rd and 4th round went, so at the 307, we had Tootin, who we talked about. Restrepo at the 306, I think, is an interesting and really good pick if he falls that far. Had a bunch of tight ends. They're going to find their way, especially Ferguson and Fannin. They should be drafted in a tight end premium. And then you have Royals with the great combine. But in the 4th round, I think we're taking shots here, right? So you got guys like Tez Johnson and Ricky White. We didn't love their combines, but their production is really nice. How much do we weigh their athleticism versus what they were able to produce and where they're going to slot in? I use that term on purpose, pun intended, where they're going to slot in an NFL team. If they find themselves in this Khalil Shakir-esque kind of situation, it's possible they could pop off and then, oops, I fell into a 4-year, $35 million contract or whatever they gave him in Buffalo. But yeah, not really great at the combine. These guys were losers this weekend. But then guys like Gadsden or Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, these are kind of names that we know. The production is there, but I don't think they really stack up to the rest of this class. But what you're doing is you're just taking a bunch of, darts here. You're throwing them and you're hoping that they land on the board.
Yeah, I think this is going to mostly look like what round 4, just outside of Besh and Higgins' eyes. So I think they go at the latest early round 3 where RJ Harvey and Will Howard are, and Mason Taylor. Yep. So I think they're day 2 guys, but it's either production or athleticism. I took the athleticism with Jaden Blue. I mean,
yep,
he wasn't the starting running back at Texas. He was behind Quintrivion Weisner. So, but he still averaged 5.4 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns. So it's one of those things where what do you look for? Obviously, draft capital is going to determine a lot. So
Yep. This is where we are at this point in the offseason.
that's
We'll
where we
see.
are. Draft capital is gonna. I mean, it's fun to do a post combine mock. Obviously, we have free agency coming up next week.
Yep.
It's gonna reinvigorate everything. Not much
Yeah.
for fantasy though. That's the problem. I mean,
Well, it'll totally change our perception of like where good landing spots are, right? Certainly for these rookies, and also like whose production is bound to soar and whose production is bound to take a hit. Free agency for me is the best point in time where you can find value in your dynasty leagues through trades. Last year, if you made moves for Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, you were sitting pretty because people were like, they didn't get as much as, some of these free agents should be getting because of the position and they're old guys. All they did is go, Saquon Barkley had the best season in running back history pretty much. And Derrick Henry wasn't far behind. So these guys still elite. Their problem is there's not a bunch of amazing players in free agency this year, but a Chris Godwin or, I don't think T. Higgins is going anywhere at this point, but you never know. Maybe he's a sign and trade type guy. We saw Deebo Samuel already get moved. So, there's value to be had if you can strike quickly.
yeah, I mean, the running back class doesn't hold the candle to last year's, but it'll be interesting to see where Najee Harris goes because
Yeah, true.
one of these good running backs spots, the Chargers are up there, Denver's up there. What if Najee goes and kind of blocks one of these guys and takes out one of the good landing spots?
Yeah.
So
it's very possible.
We'll see what happens, but from an offensive point of view, there's not much. It's not an exciting free agency where you're like, oh, where's this guy going to go? It's more of a defensive class, but the draft will be our time.
The thing, too, is we need to pay more attention to these offensive lines because we see guys who come into the NFL. We see what Josh Jacobs has been largely as a result of a really good run blocking line in Vegas and a really good scheme and pretty good line in the Packers as well. We see what's going on with Jahmyr Gibbs, people not having him nearly as highly ranked as he probably should have been going to Detroit. If you have an elite offensive, if someone goes to Cleveland, Ryan, and it's not a top tier, one of these top three guys, or even if it is, that's going to be a situation to monitor. But we got to figure out what's happening with these offensive lines, and there will be, I think, again, a lot of movement along the O-line and free agency.
I totally agree, and that's why everyone's looking at Los Angeles and Denver because their lines perform very well. They've invested heavy on both of them, and they both have a clear vacancy at running back. So say Amari and Hampton goes round one of the Chargers, like in Daniel Jeremiah's mock. How high do we take him then? Do we push him to 102?
He's 102. He's 102. He's 102.
I mean, if Genty gets a bad spot, do we somehow push him to 101? Like it becomes a conversation at that point.
Agree. Yeah.
Which will be very fun to have over the course of the offseason.
And we will have those conversations as I make my final pick here. There's a lot of good running backs. Look, you need to be taking running backs in the late third and all throughout the fourth round, in my opinion. Make sure that you go elsewhere early in your draft so that you are not afraid to take a bunch of running backs. Giddens is still here. Donovan Edwards, who apparently is the strongest running back in this draft class with his performance on the bench. You got Raheem Sanders, who looks great. You got Hunter, who looked really good. But there's a guy hiding here that I'm going to take. You know who else had a really good combine?
He really did.
Mr. Trevor Etienne himself. We know the pedigree. We know his situation. As long as this guy can remain healthy, and he looked healthy as hell yesterday, I think Trevor Etienne is definitely worth a draft position. So if you look at the way that this went down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 running backs off the board in 48 picks. I think you need to be taking 20. It's going to be kind of a wait and see sort of situation in the NFL. You're going to have to give some of these guys a year or two. But it's simply because there's just a glut at the position, right? You got James Conner, who doesn't seem to be going away. You've got, a lot of these Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones. You got a lot of these old heads who are hanging on, and they're going to for another year or two. Once those guys kind of move on, a number of these guys could develop to the point where they could take over. So I'm really investing heavily on running back, trying to get that hit in year one. But if they can have that hit in year 2, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Yeah, I agree. But there, you look at it, and there's a lot of spots that are open. Like I'm looking at the depth charts right now. I mean, you have the NFC West is full, but Aaron Jones is a free agent. What's going to happen with him? Who knows?
Yep.
Chicago could very well easily be targeted running back. Washington could be on the board with Brian Robinson to, get that kind of speed next to him. Maybe a Travion Henderson will work out great there if they want to invest heavy in that. The Raiders, Sincere McCormick's currently the starter. He was great for the 2 games he played last year, but I think they're going to upgrade there.
Yes. Yes, they are.
J.K. Dobbins, a free agent.
Yep.
I mean, the Cowboys offensive line with Zach Martin's retirement got a little weaker, but that's an open spot.
True.
Denver, we mentioned. I think Kansas City could be a sleeper. Isaiah Pacheco's injury, he didn't look good coming back from that. Kareem Hunt's the backup. I think they're a sneaky spot. And when anyone gets drafted by the Chiefs, you strap the rocket to their back of the draft stock, and they go through the roof. So you have that.
You mentioned Chicago?
Yeah, I mentioned Chicago. I'm going down up on the depth charts. Jacksonville could add. Tennessee could add. I think
they will.
Indy needs a backup to Jonathan Taylor. Trey Sermon is the current backup, so I think they're drafting someone maybe day 3. I don't think they need a day 2 guy. The Browns, the Steelers, the Bengals potentially. They're like a shaky one. That'd be a great spot.
Yeah, Moss might be gone. So
the Patriots need a running back, and
there you go.
As for the Bills, James Cook said he wants $15 million a year. Will they pay that? We'll see. We'll see by who they draft. They could draft someone high and say, James Cook, we're not paying you.
They could.
So there's a ton of spots open, and of course, there's a ton of guys to fill these spots. So I think rookie drafts are way better than people are hyping them up to be.
Yep, I agree with you. And you, if you look at it, forget about the guys on the board. Let's look at the guys still who haven't been taken. DJ Giddens, like I mentioned earlier, you got Barry and Brown. I don't know, say what you will. Savion Williams, like you mentioned earlier before. Edwards there. If he gets a favorable DC and spot, Nick Nash is still there. Sanders Kiner looked really good. I don't know. He's probably more to UDFA type. Yeah. But then you have Jarquez Hunter, who used to be the belle of the ball years ago in college. You got Noel, who you mentioned. You got don't call me Tesla. They were really trying to not pronounce his name like Tesla. Ran a 4.4. I don't think he's going to be, a wide receiver 3 anywhere. But just interesting names that we see. Monangai, who we know what he did, and he looked really good as well. And he's a big guy.
He's going to stick somewhere.
Yeah. So there's lots of options still on this board if you want to take a shot after
Savion Williams didn't even get drafted.
Yeah.
So there's that for you. Then we have Shu as well, who's, has been the talk of the town this past couple of days in the fantasy community.
He's not.
Who knows how high he's going to go? I saw some people put him in round 1. I don't agree with that, but he screams one of those day 2 guys that we were talking about that, hey, if he goes to the right situation, we'll see. But if he gets entrenched as a permanent backup, we're out.
Totally agree with you. I think he probably goes early round 3 in your rookie drafts, depending on where he gets drafted.
That's where Davis Mills and Kellen Mond went. So Kyle Trask, you're exactly right. That's exactly where he goes.
Yeah. So real quick, before we get out of here, 2 things. The first thing is, how are you feeling about this team that you drafted? And what do you think about kind of the prospects of those guys?
I mean, I feel like I kind of drafted the all-combine team here a little bit.
Surprise.
I think the combine might have affected my opinions. No, two and we were in on pre-combine. Now we just have to pay the draft capital price for them.
That's true.
After that 40, but Luther Burden, I can't quit. I can't quit these types of receivers. You said about the screen game.
Yeah,
I'll live with it if he gets a good spot. I mean, I'm talking like Dallas, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
If he starts to fall past that, I don't know, but it's just a little tough with, I mean, who else even needs a wide receiver in that range? The Cardinals? Like, even though they drafted Marv, they could double dip. The Bengals, The Bengals are a sneaky spot in this draft because they could be kicking T. Higgins out the door very soon. I don't think it's this offseason, but you're going to want a guy in there to replace him.
Yep.
Because Jamar Chase needs a running mate, so we'll see about that.
He does.
Io Maynor crushed it. He's going to be a top of day 2, late day 1 guy. He's just tough, and he has the speed. I can't believe he ran that fast, but here we are. I thought he was going to be in the 4.5s. And then Tootin and Blue, running backs with pure athleticism. If they don't hit, you look back, they're 3rd or 4th dynasty round picks. Oh, well, most of them don't turn out that great anyway. But if these guys do pan out with the speed of Tootin and the explosiveness and the tackle breaking, and if he fixes the fumble issue, or someone like Jaden Blue, who really wasn't utilized all that much in college because he was a backup for basically his whole career, with the speed, and I think I like it. So I'm all for it.
I dig it. Like we did, please make sure you're taking running backs in the back half of your rookie drafts this year in the 3rd and 4th round. Loveland and Arroyo and TEP, I will take it. Obviously, your team might have needs elsewhere, but also if you're picking at the 112, maybe you don't because you're just coming off winning a championship. If you get 2 amazing young tight end prospects, why not? Loveland and Arroyo fit that bill for me. Brashad Smith in the 3rd, I'm really happy with him. Can he become the Tyrone Tracy type? I'm not sure. I might prefer Damian Martinez over him, but right now, the day after running backs ran in the combine, I'm going to go and take the upside shot on Smith. And then Trevor Etienne, of course, we know the pedigree, the ability to start. We know what Trevor Etienne was supposed to become coming out of high school and seeing how he progressed. But NIL and the world of college football is far different than what it used to be. So a lot of these guys moving around, switching teams, some of these guys making a lot more money than their friends who are now in the NFL just through some of the NIL deals. So it's an interesting situation, but we have to figure it out as news is coming in as well. News number 1, the Patriots are looking at Chris Godwin. I love that, although I do not love the Chris Godwin injury. We have to be careful there. More importantly, and more combine related, Hannah Storm of ESPN reports there is no doubt, quote, that Matthew Golden will be the first wide receiver off the board in the NFL draft. Teams will not pass on the speed/route running ability. So Hannah Storm, obviously, I'm not sure if she's boots on the ground. I assume she is, but ear to the floor for sure in all NFL locker rooms and executive areas. Hannah Storm is saying that Matthew Golden will be wide receiver 1 in the draft.
Look, I agree. I think it's going to happen now.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks that the situation played out the way it did with Henry Ruggs. Obviously that's awful. But going back to that draft, he went over CeeDee Lamb. Everyone thought CeeDee Lamb was the surefire wide receiver 1, or Jerry Jeudy. It was one of the two. You were either in one camp or you were in the other. Henry Ruggs went before both of them.
He did.
The NFL values speed, and speed with that route running.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on. I gotta pull up the mock draft simulator to see where the ceiling is for Matthew Golden.
12, 13.
I think it might start higher. I mean,
I think
12.
Like,
I think 12.
Like a Jalen Waddle number 6 type.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that. I mean, like I said, people don't think this draft is that strong. I mean, there's a couple of blue chips, so maybe it's going to push him down a little bit. But a 4-3 guy that's a great route runner that could separate.
Yeah.
All bets are off.
Yeah, with Quinn Ewers throwing the ball, so you do not know what the hell he's truly capable of, right? That's really the issue.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, the Panthers could use someone like him if Mason Graham or a Will Johnson doesn't fall.
Don't you dare put one.
I had to do it.
I can't take it.
I mean, the Saints could, not really the Saints.
No.
The Niners could use someone we were just talking about. The Cowboys.
Golden would be so amazing on the Niners. Actually, that's a really interesting spot.
I think the ceiling starts at the absolute ceiling is 6.
Yeah.
And I think we start getting real around 11, 12 in that range. Unless I think 11, 12 is the real spot. I think Matthew Golden just got hyped into that run just made him millions of dollars.
And where does Tet go as a result then? Let's say he's like a late teens guy. Where do you see him going?
Late teens? I mean, come on, he'd be the perfect replacement to T. Higgins in Cincinnati if they were to move on. Yeah. Come on now. Yeah. I mean, same kind of guy, sort of. I mean, Denver. I mean, they have someone in Sutton though, so that really wouldn't work.
I think Denver really needs a running back, but I agree with you. I think
Pittsburgh. I mean, if Russ is back, if they re-sign Russ and just start throwing jump balls to Pickens and Tet, like,
why not?
All bets are off there.
Damn, so good. All right, we got to wrap this up though. Just a couple of quick things. We can't forget Savion Williams.
Yep.
Remember, he went undrafted. Let's make sure we don't overlook him.
Yeah.
Guys like Ricky White and Jalen Knoll, these guys are definitely on the radar. No overlook White. We drafted at the very, very end of this draft, but you just need to kind of look again. Like we said at the top, the combine is one piece of the puzzle. It's not the be all end all. Ricky White, highly, highly productive. If he finds his way into the slot and can earn a role, he can absolutely be productive for your team. Tez Johnson, probably a similar sort of deal. You just need to weigh everything accordingly.
That was a clever pun. I'll give you that. Tez Johnson, I'll give you that one.
You caught me. Yeah, the RB class, we know it's wonderful, so you have to be really careful here. But yes, running back in the later rounds.
Throw your darts. Unless Jalen Royals or Besh or Higgins or one of those guys sneaks in the third, then I feel like you have to take the wide receiver then. But if not,
maybe
darts.
Maybe. And of course, landing spot is going to change it all. So for Ryan, really appreciate you joining us as always. Let's see if I can get
in the darkness and all.
Look, hey, listen, I'm over here fighting for my life, trying to I need to put my sunglasses on.
You're blinded by the sun, and I'm in the darkness.
So stupid. I need to figure this out, but we'll get there. We are Just the Ranks. We are brought to you, presented by the Fantasy Football Universe. The Fantasy Football Universe. If you already are not, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We are trying.
I don't know where the button is, so I can't point
that
around.
Channel. I don't know, but
I think it's down here.
We're all over the map here. But we started out last year. Adjust the Ranks is a new channel. We're going to be doing mocks all off season long. If you haven't checked the schedule, I need to recheck the schedule here. Just to make sure that I get it right.
It's a very packed and loaded schedule with a ton of great guests, so you better tune in.
Starting with Ryan, of course. But if you have not checked the schedule, please do so. Here's what we've got. We've got Andrew Cooper, who's coming on Wednesday at 1 p.m. We've got Jeremy Popliers. Sorry if I got your name wrong. He's coming on Saturday. That's next Saturday, March 8th at 1 p.m. All of this information is on Adjust the Ranks. It's pinned. It's the top tweet there. So you can follow along for a chance not only to watch these shows on the Fantasy Football Universe, but also to get in on these mock drafts with these experts. We've got Fantasy Pros coming in. We've got Pat Fitzmaurice, followed by Derek Brown, coming in the middle of the March right now on the 12th and 19th. Those are Wednesdays midday. So for your lunch break, you can get in on those. And then we've got Kevin Coleman, Du Bois on Twitter, coming in March 26th. We've got other guests lined up for April, but this is just the March lineup. We're going to try as much as possible to just churn these out, talk about value. We're going to have rookie drafts. We're going to have dynasty startup drafts. And everything for you this entire offseason. We'll get into redraft when the time comes, late June, early July, and we'll just keep rolling through the season. So if you haven't done it already, please like and subscribe. Our guy Ryan will be here every once in a while. We're doing underdog drafts with Ryan most of the time, where he's already got 50% exposure to Dylan Sampson, so he is killing you.
Tootin as well, RJ Harvey. I mean, it feels good. I can't get them anymore though, like at the spots.
Yeah.
I have to check our draft. I think we drafted Tootin and Harvey really late.
Thank you for that, because that one was all you.
You can thank my Discord that I'm in.
We appreciate you guys joining us. We are going to jump out of here because we're far too long. But yeah, we're here all the month of March. So please, can't even talk anymore. Please subscribe to Adjust the Ranks. And again, Fantasy Football Universe on YouTube, where we'll be live streaming this all month and off season long. So for Ryan, I am Jeremy. And as always, I'm going to struggle to find the button. I'm going to talk a little bit out of my butt, and then we're going to go. See you later.
Adjust the Ranks is most obliged to your patronage. Should you wish to imbibe future content via your auditory and/or ocular cavities, do offer your clicks of approval and subscription.